You know that feeling when you watch a movie and it's so confusing, so completely nonsensical that you start to question everything? Well, today we're diving headfirst into that feeling. We found a machine generated transcript for a free action movie on YouTube. And our goal, our mission, is to see if we can actually piece together a real story from all the chaos. Let's see what we're dealing with. And this one line of dialogue is pretty much the perfect introduction to the world we are about to enter. The grammar is questionable, the legal logic is baffling, and it's all delivered with this incredible confidence that just defines the whole story. This is the kind of beautiful absurdity we're going to be unpacking. So, how in the world do you make sense of this mess? Well, we have a plan. First, we're going to set the scene, really get a feel for the chaos. Then we'll try to figure out who's who, the main players. After that, we'll dig into the big mystery, the kill list itself. From there, we'll attempt to piece together the plot, and finally, we'll unravel the uncle's truly wild grand plan. Let's get into it. Okay, first things first. We really need to understand what this source material is and why it's so, well, unique. Right. So the problem here isn't just that the story is a little convoluted. No, the very foundation of the whole thing, the words, the sentences, it's all broken. We're sifting through dialogue that feels like it was put in a blender, trying to pull out characters, motivations, anything that makes sense. It's kind of like being a detective, but the crime scene is grammar itself. So, our first real step in this investigation is to figure out who we're even dealing with. Who are the key figures in this tangled web? At the absolute center of this hurricane is a character named Angie. She's the engine of the story, the one driving all the action, even if her motivations get a little hazy. And what's so fascinating about Angie is just how many different hats she's wearing. On one hand, she's a victim, out for revenge for her father, who was an ex-minister murdered 20 years ago. But she's also a highly trained operative working for some shady organization. And then, boom, she gets framed for murder and becomes a fugitive. It's your classic action hero setup, just seen through a very, very weird filter. Trying to catch her, we've got Sam. He's an agent for this mysterious group called the C2. He's supposed to be our hard-boiled detective, trying to solve a simple murder that, of course, spirals way out of his control. And this quote, this tells you everything you need to know. His chief gives him this completely impossible 48-hour deadline and threatens not just his job, but his own career too. It's this insane, high-stakes pressure that basically forces Sam to start bending the rules and eventually team up with the very woman he's supposed to be hunting. All right, next up is a really key figure from Angie's past who we see mostly in flashbacks, her uncle. He's the one who basically forged her into the weapon that she is today. This is pretty much his whole deal. He's that classic mentor, training the young, grieving hero for their big quest for vengeance. But definitely keep this guy in the back of your mind. His supposedly simple motivation gets a whole lot more complicated. And finally, we have our supposed antagonist. He's the head of the organization Angie works for. His name is Byron, or, maybe it's Biden. The transcript honestly can't seem to make up its mind. I mean, seriously, what do you even say to that? This is a direct quote from the script. A character literally clarifies the boss's name as Byron, and then in the same breath says, "And I am Biden." Is it a typo, a surrealist joke, a political statement gone terribly wrong? We have no idea, but it perfectly, beautifully captures the madness we are dealing with. Okay, so we have our players, more or less. Now, what is everyone fighting over? The whole movie's named after this thing, so it's gotta be important. Let's try to figure out what the kill list actually is. On the surface, it's pretty straightforward. It's a classic MacGuffin, right? A plot device that everybody wants. It's a hard disk, it has a list of names, simple enough. Ah, well, that's where things immediately get confusing again. The characters all seem to have a different idea of what this list is for or what it can do,
But they all agree on one thing. It is incredibly dangerous.
And here's where it just goes completely off the rails. The stakes are all over the place. First, the list will expose the organization and everyone will get killed. Okay, but it also has the names of people who can destroy this world completely. And then, and this is a huge twist, we find out it includes the name of Angie's own father, the very guy she's been trying to avenge this whole time. So the list is a threat, but it might also hold the truth. All right, we've got our characters, we've got our MacGuffin. Now for the really hard part. Let's try to take all these chaotic, bizarre pieces and build something that actually looks like a coherent plot. Wish me luck. So if you strip away all the nonsense dialogue and just kind of squint, this is the basic skeleton of the story we've managed to put together. It kicks off with a murder. Angie gets blamed. She goes on the run. Sam, the investigator, starts to think there's a bigger conspiracy going on. The hunter and the hunted team up, and it all leads to this massive, messy final shootout where literally everyone, Angie, Sam, Byron's people, even Sam's corrupt boss, all collide. And all of that chaos leads us to the climax. After all the gunfights and betrayals, the story hits us with its final and maybe its most baffling twist, revealing the true mastermind behind this entire mess. So who really orchestrated the murder? Who framed Angie? And who was playing every single character against each other just to get control of this organization? That's right. It was her uncle, the kindly mentor from the flashbacks, the guy who trained her, who supposedly had her back this whole time. He was the villain all along. He wasn't helping her get justice. He was just using her. And he lays out the whole scheme himself with his own words. He turned Angie into a human weapon, specifically to eliminate his rivals inside the organization, a group that included her own father. Her entire deeply personal quest for revenge was just a tool he used for a hostile takeover. He used her to clear the board, and as a reward, he just sets her free. It is a stunningly cynical and just plain confusing end to her journey. So we did it. We deconstructed the kill list. We actually found a story buried under all those layers of bad translation and bizarre logic. But it leaves us with one last question. Does a story really need to make sense to be entertaining? Maybe the real joy of a transcript like this isn't about finding a coherent plot, but just appreciating the beautiful, unintentional, and hilarious absurdity of it all. What do you think?